Hey, we are going to talk about supplies today. I'm just getting my phone turned off. Okay, so with supplies, there is so many different options for supplies. I am just going to go over what I use. If you have questions, let me know. Let me just pull up the pattern. Hang on. Okay. All right, let's chat about supplies. So I'm just gonna go through the list that I have just from top to bottom. So first one is needles, embroidery needles. Now you can use any embroidery needle. I really like the DMC size 5 needles because they are thin enough that they don't leave like a hole in your fabric, but thick enough that you can like hold them in your fingers. I have problems with some that they're too thin and they like bend really easy, and so I don't love them. But the DMC size 5s work really, really well. So they usually come in a package like this. They're very sharp. They have a smaller eye than some. The eye is just this top part here where you put your thread in. Now, for a little while, DMC was making the eyes of their needles really small. I don't know what happened, but they were terrible and it was really frustrating, but they are back to better eyes on their needles. So DMC is great, but any size 5 needle will be similar. DMC needles are just really easy for me to find. So if you can find something else, go for it. There's also an option. So I don't know if you'll be able to tell. This is a size 5, and then this is something else. It's very thick. I like it when I'm doing like, can you see that thickness difference? I like a thicker needle when I'm doing like French knots, like a big bunch of fluffy French knots, because it helps me get like really nice thick stitches, but it's very thick. The eye is quite a bit bigger though, so it's a little bit easier to get in. I wish I could get it to focus more on them instead of me. Anyways, you can see like that one's a little bit thicker. And then the other option that I like is a chenille needle. This is a size 24, but I like a 22 as well. The eye is the blue part, so it has quite a bit bigger eye, like compared. I wish it would focus better on that, I'm sorry. But if I put it up, let me try again, hold on. So the eye on this needle, the blue one, the eye is this whole blue part where this one is just a little one. So the eye is quite a bit bigger. It's a lot easier to thread. So if you're having a problem threading your needle, try using a chenille needle. When I buy them, they come in a little pack like this. You can buy them, they come like this as well, like in a little card pack, but I like this one because it has a bunch of different ones and I have a bunch of different options. So needles, any needle that you have will work great. Those are just like my go-tos. So next up is fabric. I generally, most always will use a Kona cotton or Kona cotton. Depends on how you pronounce it. It's Kona. I can find it at all the craft stores. So wherever you buy fabric, they would probably have some. It's usually like the quilting fabric is a little bit thinner and then the Kona cotton is a little bit thicker. So it just has like a little bit of a tighter weave. It has like very little stretch. It's great for embroidery. It holds your threads really well, keeps them nice and tight. The other option that I like is linen. There's so many other options in between. So just so you know, so this one you can see is quite a bit thinner. You can see the weave on it a lot better. With this, I usually double my fabric because it's a little bit looser of a weave, so it doesn't quite hold those stitches as nicely as like the Kona cotton does. Let me put these up against one another so you can see. You see how you can kind of see that weave a lot more on this side, where this side is quite a bit thicker. So those are my two favorite options. If you're gonna do like a quilting cotton, it's just a little bit thinner, so plan on using plan on stitching through 2 layers. Anything that you have that doesn't have stretch. So if you're a thrifter and you want to go find like sheets at the thrift store, you can cut those up and stitch on those. I wouldn't, if this is your first time stitching, I wouldn't use like a jersey cotton, like a t-shirt material. It's got too much stretch and it'll be hard. So anything without a stretch is the sweet spot. Threads and embroidery floss. So DMC is what I usually use. It's really easy for me to find. Comes like this. It has DMC at the top and then it has the color number at the bottom. So when you're pulling your threads, you'll pull from the number end. Right there is the end, which we'll talk about once we start stitching, but you'll pull from that end. I don't use bobbins. My thread is always on the skein like this. Another great option is Anchor or Cosmo, depending on where you are. For me, Cosmo is the most expensive. It's like $2 a skein, where DMC, if it's on sale, I can get it for like 50 cents a skein, or it's normally like 69 cents or 68 cents or something like that. So DMC, Anchor, Cosmo are all really great brands. If this is your first time doing embroidery, I would avoid like the really cheap stuff on Amazon. You can buy a pack for like $5 and there's like 100 colors. It's not good. This is really smooth. It's really easy to work with. The cheaper stuff is not as smooth. It catches on everything. You'll get knots all the time. I mean, you'll get knots with the DMC thread too, but not nearly as often. So if you can avoid that really cheap floss that you can find on Amazon, I would recommend avoiding that. Usually I have a really easy time ordering online with Joann. Michael's is okay online. Hobby Lobby is okay online. Joann's, I feel like, is the easiest setup. None of them are great. You can also buy directly from DMC, but they are a little bit pricier. Michael's right now, this week, I think, is having a 30% off sale. So if you have a Michael's near you, you can get threads for 48 cents each. What else was I gonna say? I think that's it. If your grandma has leftover thread, go look through her stash. With the color palette that I have listed, you don't have to use those. If you have a color that's similar and you want to use it, go for it. I'm not here to tell you that you have to use my exact colors. You don't. Please make this your own project. If you want to have a green building, make a green. If you want bright pink, go for it. I don't care. Do what you want. This is just a suggestion. Okay, embroidery hoops. Now, I have a lot to say about embroidery hoops, so buckle up. All right, first option, cheapest option is these bamboo hoops. These are great. They work great. I don't have huge issues with them. I mean, I do have a couple issues with them, but nothing huge. I would always say buy bamboo hoops in person. The only struggle I have found, the biggest struggle I have found with bamboo hoops is that they have gaps. So like right here, you can kind of see between the two hoops. If you can see between the hoops, then it won't hold your fabric tight in that spot. So like some places don't have, like right here, there's no gap. So it'll hold my fabric really tight here, but it'll be loose right here where I can see through it. So it's a little bit frustrating because when we're doing embroidery, we need our we need our fabric to be really tight so that when we're pulling our needle through it, it lays flat. If your fabric is not tight, then you're gonna have issues with your threads not looking as nice as they could. So if you're buying bamboo hoops, I would buy them in person and check to find some that don't have these gaps, okay? The best that you can. Now there's ways to get around this. You could wrap the inner hoop, when you take it out, wrap it so that there's no more gap. You won't see the inner hoop when you finish your project. So you can get tape or fabric or thread and just wrap it around that to just help bridge that gap between the inner and the outer hoop. The other thing is when you're taking these apart, make sure you're getting your center back to the center, okay? I always draw a little line that this is the center. Let me show you why. So if we, oh, maybe I can't undo this. Oh, yes, I can. Okay. Okay, so there's very few gaps on this one. I mean, there's a couple up here and then there was one over here. But if we turn this inner hoop, so here's our center that was up here, and we put it back in, that's gonna create more gaps. So now there's like this big gap up here, there's a big gap up here, there's a big gap down here. These are not perfectly circular. I couldn't think of the word. So because they're not like a perfect circle, if this gets off-centered, then it'll create more gaps. So make sure when you're buying bamboo hoops that you mark where your center is so that if you take this out and set it down, that you can remember, go back to where your center was. Okay? Bamboo hoops are usually like $2-ish. I haven't bought them in a while. They might have gone up in price. The next option, this is what I like to use and what I have the most of, is beechwood hoops. They're a little bit better quality. You can kind of see they're a little bit smoother. The wood grain is nice. I really like these. The hardware is nicer. This is what I usually buy. These are more like $3 to $5, depending on, they could be more as well, depending on what brand you're getting. But they look really nice. I don't have problems with the gaps. Like I don't see any gaps. I can take this out and turn it and I don't have gaps if I turn it. They're like more circular. These are great. I usually buy them on Amazon or from a website. I don't remember what it's called. Lovecrafts. 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 I think they're based in the UK, but they have like a US branch that you can buy from as well if you're in the US. So I like the Elbacy brand, or there's Frank Edmonds. The Frank Edmonds ones are a little bit pricier, but these are really nice. Some of them, this one has like sharp corners and some of them have rounded corners. So it just depends on what brand you're buying. But I haven't had any problems with beechwood hoops like being warped or anything like that. So beechwood is fun. The next option is a plastic hoop, okay? Plastic hoops are great. My only problem with them is that they're pretty obnoxious colors most of the time. I don't want a frame in this bright blue hoop. I have a hot pink one. I have a bright orange one. I've seen a lot more recently that people are making them like an off-white color or like a pale pink or a sage green, and they're really nice. Anyways, I like these to stitch in. I nearly always stitch in a plastic hoop and then I finish in a beechwood hoop, only because this holds my fabric so much tighter. The thing with plastic hoops is making sure that you find one with a groove in it. So it'll like sit inside the groove. It just holds the fabric a lot tighter. If you're finding plastic hoops that are flat on flat like this, that's not good. It's not gonna hold your fabric tight enough to stitch in. Garbage, don't buy those. You wanna find one that has the groove in it, because then it will push your fabric like into the outer hoop and hold it a lot better, okay? This is a Loops and Threads one from Michaels, I think. But I've bought them at Hobby Lobby and Joann's as well. Those are the 3 places closest to me. So I know I've seen really the nicer colored ones like on Etsy from smaller shops that are selling them. Anyways, plastic hoops are great. If you find one that you want to finish in, don't let me stop you. Please finish in a plastic hoop if you want to. They're really nice. They're really, really easy to tighten and loosen. Anyways, I have a whole set of different sizes. I've gone ahead and like written the size 5, 6, 7, 8. I have like 2 in every size just so I can use them to stitch in. So these are great. Last one I'm going to talk about is these faux wood hoops. I love these. I think that they're so cute to finish in. They're a little hard to work with. So this inner ring, the white one, is a hard plastic, and then the outside is rubber. So let me see if I can get it apart. Some are easier than others. Okay, so we've got the same situation where we've got this groove that this will sit in. This is round. It's just like a little tube. And then it is rubber. And so it can smash. The oval ones, so the oval ones are nice because they can sit horizontal or portrait, depending on how you want them to sit. So if you're buying oval ones, if in the picture they're like this, but you need it like this, if they're sitting like this, but you're gonna need it like this, they are rubber, so you can put them in the hoop however you want them. I personally don't like stitching with this. I don't want to put my fabric in here and stitch with it because I don't feel like it holds it quite as tight. I stitch in this. But to finish, it looks really nice for finishing. Here's the thing. These are really hard to get back on when you have fabric on there. So be prepared to maybe get a little frustrated, but they look really cute. Like, they look nice. So, and this comes off if you want to. It just like screws in. So you can take these out as well if you don't like that. But anyways, that is another option. There's other ones out there. There's like wood hoops. There's like finishing hoops, so you don't stitch in them, but like modern hoopla, you finish like in a bamboo hoop or a beechwood hoop, and then they have like a frame that goes on the outside of the hoop. Super cute. But you don't stitch in them. It's just like, it just goes on like the edge. It's just a frame. It's not like a hoop to hold it. Anyways, there's a few other options. Nerge makes like a wood hoop. Oh, I have one of those. I didn't grab it. Anyways, they make like a wood hoop. They're really nice as well. They're a little bit on the pricier end, like $15 depending on the size. So anyways, embroidery hoops, there's tons of options. Pick what fits into your budget and how you want it to look at the end. All right, let's talk about scissors. Now you can use any scissors. You need something to trim your thread, to cut it from your skein and to cut it in the back. I personally love embroidery scissors. I have more than I probably need, but they're fun. So embroidery scissors are usually small. They have a pointed end. Sometimes they curve a little bit. Sometimes they don't. They are small and sharp, and they are great because they're made for embroidery. They cut your thread really well the first time. You can spend, $5, $6 on a pair, or you can spend $30 on a pair. I have a pair of Ginger, is that the right word? I think that's right. Ginger scissors, and they are so great. I love them. Like, they're just so great. These ones are really good. I think these ones are from Hobby Lobby. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them on Etsy. You can find them at Walmart. These ones are from Walmart. These are a little bit bigger. Compared to my embroidery scissors, they're a lot bigger, but they work great. Plus I can cut my fabric with these and my thread with these. They're just like the Westcott brand. Is that what they're called? Yeah, Westcott. Just from Walmart. So they work great too. Whatever scissors you have. I've used fingernail clippers if I am in a pinch. So scissors. Okay, pencils, pen, marker, whatever. You can do this with a regular pencil. The only thing to keep in mind is that pencil, just like a regular pencil, is not going to erase. You're not going to be able to erase it. So if you're planning to use a pencil, that's fine. Just make sure that you're stitching right on the line and you're not drawing anything extra. I would almost freehand some of it just so that you're less likely to have lines that you can't cover up. If you want another option, you've got a couple ways you can go. So we've got heat erasable or water erasable, water soluble or heat erasable. I like heat erasable. So let's talk about that first. So the Pilot Friction markers and pens are usually my go-to. This is what they look like. These are the markers. This is a fine liner marker. Has a tip that looks like this. Nice and thin. I like the black, blue, purple. Whoops. The other colors don't erase quite as well, especially the green and the orange. Now, if you want to buy a pack with those, maybe give them to a neighbor or a child or somebody else. You don't want them for embroidery. Hold on, I gotta get my marker. So they're great, but they do have their limitations, okay? So they do not erase forever. These leave ghost lines and they can come back. So if you're gonna use them, same as the pencil, except it's not as extreme. So I usually will draw my pattern and then stitch and then erase with heat. So I use a blow dryer, but you could also use an iron. If your project gets really, really cold, like in the dead of winter when it's just like freezing cold, I've had lines come back like that. If you run a blow dry over it, again, they erase. If you're storing something in like a cold storage area, a fruit room or something like that, they could come back as well, but usually with heat they'll erase again. The other thing is they leave ghost lines, so I would always test it on your fabric first. Draw a circle in the corner or something, and then erase it, and then you can see how much of a ghost line it leaves. Some fabrics it's really bad, some fabrics you can barely tell. The Kana cotton that I use is a little, like, you can see the ghost lines a lot more than you can like with the linen. So just be aware of that. Don't draw, huge circles and then stitch on the inside of the circle, because the circle will still be there. So same thing with the pencil. You're gonna wanna stitch over those lines. They'll erase, but if you don't have stitching over the top, you'll be able to see ghost lines. So it's not a perfect system, but I do it on all of my commissions and I've never had an issue, so I will keep using them. But Pilot, so they make markers or pens. I like the pens and the markers the same. I just have a lot of markers, so I use them. From when I was making kits, I have just a lot of markers. But the pens are the same as the markers. Black, blue, purple erase better than the pink, the orange, the green, all of that. So if you're getting a multicolored pack, just don't use especially the green one on your embroidery, because it's not a good situation. Another heat erasable option are these cute ones. My friend told me about them. I get them on Amazon and they are adorable, but they have a really fine tip. They've got blue or black. I have a highlight to both of these in my supplies highlight if you want to find them on Amazon. I just use these interchangeably, just depending on what's on my desk. I like them both the same. They come with the same issues. This one I think leaves less ghost lines than the marker, but those are your options for heat erasable. There's also like heat erasable like gel pens that come black, blue, red, and white. I don't love them. They dry out really fast. And so I feel like I don't get my money's worth because I have half the ink left and it's dried out. So I know a lot of people use the white gel pens for dark fabrics. It's fine for me. I just don't use them because I don't love them. So I have them in my supplies list if you're curious. The other option is water soluble. Now water soluble you can find in the quilting section at the craft store usually. They are usually blue or purple ink, and then they dissolve in water. So once you're done stitching, you soak your project for 30 seconds to a minute or whatever. You kind of scrub at those lines and they should disappear. I personally don't like getting my embroidery wet. I think it messes up my stitches and it bothers me, and I just don't do it. So if you want to get your embroidery wet, water soluble is a great option. It doesn't leave ghost lines. You can also buy these pencils, water soluble pencils. This one is white. I only keep this for stitch alongs so I can show you. I never use this anymore, but it draws really well on dark fabric. Oh, you know what? I forgot an option. Hold please. For dark fabrics, another option is to do a chalk pencil. So Bohin is this brand, Bohin. The other one is Fons and Porter, Fons, and Porter, Porter. They're the same, pretty much. So it's just a mechanical pencil, and instead of lead, it's got chalk. So the problem, these are great. This is my go-to if I'm doing a dark fabric. The only problem is that it's chalk. So if you're trying to draw something really detailed, it's not great because your hand will touch it and it will smear, and it'll erase as you're like touching it with your hands. Or if you're storing it away in a bag or something like that, it can rub on it and erase the lines. So it's not the greatest option, but I do a lot of freehand anyway, so it doesn't bug me if my lines kind of erase because I kind of just do whatever I want. But they work fine, and these are fairly cheap. I think I got 2 of them for like $6 or $7 or something. So that's an option. You can also print on a sticky solvy fabric. It's like a wax paper, and then like a fabric, like a sheet of fabric, almost like a really thin papery fabric that dissolves in water. So you can put that in your printer, print out your pattern, and then you peel off the wax paper and stick it to your fabric. I don't have any. I'm out. I don't use it very often. So, and then you stitch through the paper and then you wash it away. And I know people that love it. It's all they use. So that's an option. You can also print directly onto fabric. If you have a light enough fabric, you'll just print with printer. You can stick it, you can buy sheets of paper that's like the same, like the wax and then like a sticker that are like stuck together. So you peel off the sticker and you put your fabric on it, and then you put your fabric through your printer. It'll print onto your fabric. I'm trying to think if I'm missing any options. Oh, transfer paper. I couldn't find my transfer paper. I have some and I don't know what I did with it, but it's like a carbon paper. So you get your hoop and then you put the carbon paper on it, and then you put your pattern on top of that, and then you trace your pattern and it leaves like a chalk behind. So that's another option. If you're confused, message me. We can talk about it some more. We will transfer our patterns in a couple days, so you have a couple of days to buy your supplies. Okay, now to a couple of fun items that you don't have to have, but that I love and use on a very regular basis. If you are doing embroidery fairly regularly, here is my first fun thing. Needle minders. These are not necessary, but they're 100% fun. So what it is you've got a design here with a magnet, and then you've got another magnet here. So what we're doing with these, hold on, let me put this in here really quick. It's to hold on to your needle. So when we have a project, hold on. this is not good. But we have our fabric in here. We're gonna put the front of our needle minder here and then the back right here. So it is held on to our project, and then we can get our needle and it holds on to our needle. So it's just a magnet that just like hangs out on your project and holds on to your needle for you. Along with my embroidery needle, my embroidery scissors, I collect these. I love them. I have like a dozen of them. I don't know. I have a whole bunch. But there is so many different options, shapes and sizes, and I mean, flowers and Harry Potter and swear words and butterflies and houses and cats, and I don't know. There's just a million. If you search needle minder on Etsy, you will find so many different ones. This one is, my favorites are from Beck's Stitches. This one is from her. She has a daisy one, or like a Luke's from Gilmore Girls, a Luke's cup. That's really cute. Anyways, needle minders are really fun. 100% not necessary, but they're just so cute and fun. Or I love this little pin cushion. I have two of these. I have one with beading needles for when I do photo embroidery, and then I have this one with like my regular needles, but they're just itty bitty. I mean, it's just little in my hands, but it has emery sand in it, and so it sharpens my needles when I put them in there. Can you hear that? It's got sand in it. So Giselle, Alice and the Bear, makes these, and they're just tiny and perfect. So that is another fun one. I just realized I forgot to talk about watercolors and colored pencils. Hold one more time, please. So this is one more thing that is also optional. We are going to, I don't want to stitch the entire bookshop. It would be a lot of like satin stitching, and I just don't think that sounds fun. So we're going to watercolor. Now I just have kind of an inexpensive set from Joann's. I think this was like 10 bucks or 15 or something like that, but they make smaller ones. You could use a Crayola one. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. I'm sure that people will tell me I'm wrong, but when we're watercoloring on fabric, I don't think it matters. So, watercolors are really fun. I will teach you what I know about them for doing embroidery. And then, or you can use just colored pencils, just regular colored pencils, Crayola, or if you have some fancier ones, you can use those. Just get whatever color you're planning to stitch your bookshop. You want the same color thread and either pencil or watercolor. So I am probably gonna do a brown, a brown building. So I've got a couple of brown options right here. But if you're gonna do blue, then kind of try and match. Like if you're gonna do like this brighter blue, then you might wanna choose a different blue for your thread color. Try and match those up a little bit. Now this will lighten a little bit as we watercolor, so it doesn't have to be an exact match. It'll be okay. But that's another optional item if you want to do that. We will talk about that in a couple of days as well when we go over transferring our pattern. So, all right, that is it for me. Let me know if you have questions about supplies, and then yeah, wait for Thursday and we will talk about transferring your pattern and doing watercolor and colored pencils. So have a great rest of your day, and I will see you back here next time. Bye.